Dreaming of a modern oasis? All Modern has you covered with the best of modern furniture and decor, all in one place, and all hand-vetted by our design experts. Whether you're on the hunt for a new outdoor dining set or a versatile sofa, our premium quality designs bring form and function to any space, and they're available in every style of modern. For real. Every single style. Oh, and did we mention it's all delivered for free in days, not weeks? That's Modern made simple. Shop now at allmodern.com.
Great gifts for dad? We've got them. And they're up to 60% off at Nordstrom Rack stores now.
How did I not know Rack has Adidas?
They've got the best gifts.
Gotta show Dad some love.
Snag amazing deals on Father's Day gifts from Cole Haan, Calvin Klein, Vince, and more. Great brands, great prices. That's why you Rack.
Someplace underneath.
Do you ever get to a place where your thoughts are like they're so overlapping and so like and then you just get tired? Like the hyperactivity of the brain moving around is just like also shutting you down.
Oh my God, all the time.
Yeah. I think that's anxiety generally, but beyond that.
Yeah, like I'll be in my house and I'll be like, oh my God, you got to mop, you got to sweep, you got to clean the bathroom, you got to go meal prep, you got to get the healthy stuff in the fridge. Why don't you have any milk? And then I'm just like, I got to lay down. So instead of doing any of those things, I just go lay right back down.
Yeah.
What is that?
Anxiety.
Shit.
Very relatable though.
Yeah.
That's how I feel right now because of this topic. There's so much I want to say and get across that it feels a little bit like the kind of jazz music where you hear like the horns just going like like that's how my brain feels, or I just want to make sure I'm getting all the points right. But it's really hard to make a jazz song good. Doing that, you have to be really talented, and I am not that talented of a journalist.
You are, darling. You're so smart and brave and funny.
I got you to compliment me. Thank you. Welcome to Place Under Neith. I'm Nellie Jean.
I'm Amber Nelson.
Yeah, we're in the tent city portion of the crimes of the Latter-day Saint members. And if that sounds intense, it's because it is.
Tent city?
Intensities in tent city.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant like at the end of the world when they're living in the tent cities.
Oh, that's what I mean.
Oh, God.
No, that's what I mean.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we're here. We're here at the end or the beginning. I don't really know. I guess they would look at it as the beginning, right? It's like the new
world.
The new world without all of us here.
Oh, all these heathens. That's why I can't watch prepper stuff too much. It causes anxiety. It stresses me out. And lately I have to be watchful of everything I see on the internet because anytime someone's like speculating and they're going to come after you and I'm like, you're just adding to this.
Yes. And it's tough. It's tricky. Even outside of a really closed off environment like the Saints have, there are kernels of reality that there are threats and risks and concerns all the time being alive. But then the snowball effect of that can make things really hard to just function if you have high anxiety, if you have intrusive thoughts, if you have compulsive issues. And it doesn't help when then you are also deeply enmeshed in a controlled group that is based around worrying about the end of days, I guess. Like that doesn't help.
No.
I would imagine. I don't think it's calming.
No, that's like being in an abusive relationship where you're just like, I have to give it all up to you and I won't have any independent thoughts of my own, which by the way, it's totally natural. And I just have to, as long as I do everything you say, it'll be fine. And then they're just causing chaos because the end of the world is happening. Get ready, get your guns, get your canned beans.
Yeah. And you could almost look at that and say, well, is that part of the human condition? Because that's been happening as long as humans have existed. There's always been somebody being like, it's coming. It's coming tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, forever. Can you even imagine? I don't know if there's a way to even be able to record how many different times and people have said the last day's date. I mean, it's got to be thousands, tens of thousands of different people saying it's this day, get ready. And that's just like across the board. That's not just with Latter-day Saints. That's just humans.
Wasn't there a woman that killed her whole family because the moon and astrology or something?
I mean, that could be so many different people, Amber. I think maybe you're talking about the lady with the eclipse.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so frustrating and so it's hard. It's hard to process things like, you remember this was, 2 years ago when the eclipse, that one eclipse was happening, and because of COVID and because of maybe people's just like fragile mental states right now, there were a lot of people saying like this is the sign of the end and this is the end times, when in reality it's just like a very structured scientific phenomenon that happens, right? We knew it was going to happen. It happens all the time and then it just goes away because that's what it does. But some people, especially with social media, like spreading things really quickly, freak out. And if you have mental illness on top of that, sometimes you make rash decisions. And that was that woman. She did unfortunately kill, she took her children's lives. And it's that really tough thing that is hard to break through in people, which is anything I don't understand is demonic. Anything I don't understand is demonic.
Yeah, I hear that a lot on social media. I even saw like a Rick Owens party, and he's a fashion designer, right? And they're all wearing black, and it was like some strobe lights, and everybody's like, this is demonic. I'm like, because they're wearing black? Grow up.
It's very juvenile. And I don't even mean to condescend to people who have that mindset, because a lot of them weren't afforded any form of like reasonable education. But yeah, I mean, it is childish. And that is a lot of what we see with this world of Chad Daybells and the people we're going to talk about today, and including Tom Harris and Ken Krogh, who are not simpletons and they have had education, but they live in a very childish mindset. That's my opinion, even though we're supposed to look at them as these upstanding citizens because they do the khaki tucked in shirt thing and have like very clean haircuts and they're white. We're supposed to treat them as these respectable members of society, but they are living in playland full time.
They're a child of God. They're children of God.
Yeah. And they take that literally. Except their childishness seems so joyless, which is a really sad part of it.
Oh,
they don't
God.
even get to do fun LARPs. Like their LARPs seem awful to me. Maybe it's just different tastes, but
Yeah.
I think LARPing should have fun costumes.
Fun costumes. You should also be able to go where you want and like go have a drink at a gay sports bar. I did that the other day. Pretty childish, but I had a great time. I got a couple dresses, had a vodka soda, took the bus home.
Were they fantasy dresses? Were you dressed as a character? Because if you're not, you need to workshop it.
I know. Tutus, like that's a good
Yes.
child of God.
Oh, I love a tutu forever.
Not just like no jacking off.
Yeah. And they really don't want you jacking off. That is for sure. So just as a quick refresher, we had been talking about the mental health field in the LDS world and the mysticism that has seeped into it from many different perspectives and angles. Tom Harrison and Ken Krogh created Eternal Core, one of the many, many expos and conventions that sort of permeate the LDS culture in the Mormon Belt. And that is one that is specifically based around mental health and ways to be treated with mental health problems that kind of stray away from what science would kind of dictate is better for you. They kind of go like, we listened to a little bit of Tom speak last episode. We listened to a clip of him, and he's very anti-medication. He's very labeling mental illness, even though he works in mental health, he's like, you can't be diagnosed with something. That would be crazy. So he's kind of taking this sort of mystic, spiritual, religious mindset, and he's by far not the only one. He just happens to be one of the leaders in that movement. So we have that side of him, but I really want to start to delve into what these glorious visions inside of Visions of Glory are all about, because it leads us into the doomsday of it all.
This sounds like school shooter manifesto. That's where we're going.
It scares. It doesn't make me feel safe. I feel like alarm bells going off.
Yeah.
With some of this stuff. So he has this mental health like hold on a bunch of LDS culture, but he also was the person who transcribed to John Pontius what happens in the book Visions of Glory. And that essentially is talking about the last days. The story of Visions of Glory is supposed to be an account of a guy who dies, has a vision of the end days, of what you're supposed to do, and then comes back to life. And that is why Tom Harrison had to write the letter 2 years later to the church body saying, hey guys, this wasn't a church prophecy. It was just my own. And I don't know. It's just what God showed me. So they didn't necessarily denounce it in the church, but they wanted to make sure you knew this vision was different than the church's visions, which are the ones that are real ones. He's kind of chosen, but they're like the chosenest ones. So it's not saying, oh, the visions, that's not realistic, because the church itself is about prophecies and having visions. So they can't denounce that, right? They can't say like, oh, don't listen to people saying that they're having prophecies because they all say they're prophets. They just want to be like,
we can let it pass.
Sure.
But really it's the 100-year-old man in the ivory tower. Isn't he?
He's the one that has the
main
real one.
He rolls his eyes back and he's like, God says you can wear sleeves now.
Yes. And while God said that no more sleeves. You can wear tank tops now, guys.
Nice.
So going back to everything we've talked about, I've been using Utah as sort of the catch-all for describing the more chaotic parts of the LDS Church, and that's not untrue. But a lot of the extremism is being enacted in Idaho and Arizona and the surrounding states. And I think that's another reason to dismiss it as fringe, because it's not happening right inside of Salt Lake City. So it must be just it's literally the outskirts of it.
Yeah.
But it's not really, because those are all that is where all of the Mormons are. Yes, Salt Lake City is the Mecca, is where the main temple is and where the prophets are. But the people who fund the church are through those states. They're through Utah, they're through Arizona, they're through Idaho, even down in California, New Mexico. And those are still high up people in the church. It's not these are just these like weird desert people. We don't know what they're talking about. No, those are bishops and stake leaders and the people running the church still.
Yeah, and those towns are expensive. Like, have you been to Sedona? It's gorgeous, but good luck buying a house.
Oh, yeah. And there's plenty. I mean, Idaho, too. There's certain parts of Idaho that maybe aren't Los Angeles expensive, but there are wealthy Mormon enclaves, including like where Lori Vallow was at the end of her reign of terror. There are expensive areas. And beyond that, these visions of glory that are in this book, the book itself has sold tens of thousands of copies. And if not more. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's been a best-selling book in Utah before. So to dismiss this as a fringe part of the culture is just not true. It is almost exclusively Mormons who are buying this book, and it is tens and tens of thousands of them, maybe hundreds of thousands.
Are they gaslighting us into being like, it's actually not that important? And you're like, no, it is.
Yeah, and I think that there is a level of the culture of the members of the everyday members of the church. I do think some of them do believe that it's not them. They're not like us, remember?
Yeah.
Remember the Super Bowl? I think that they feel like that truly, but I also would maybe argue that they're so entrenched in this culture that the things that I call the things that they're calling these big caverns between them and the extremists are like nuances of the culture. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that they see it as so different, but that's because they're so removed from society in many ways. So it's not really, in the grand scheme of things, what they're saying is so different from them is not. It's like these tiny little adjustments. It's still the same culture. That's how I see it, at least. So this book, Visions of Glory, has sold many, many, many times. And around 2018, the 5-year anniversary of the book coming out, the widow of John Pontius, because as a reminder, John Pontius died right after the book came out, she released a special 5-year anniversary edition of Visions of Glory that included exclusive interviews between John Pontius and Tom Harrison, though he was still referenced as Spencer in the text, even though he had already come forward as saying he was Spencer. Mm-hmm. So the widow of John, who was the actual author, and Tom Harrison, the one who translated the story for John, they had all these interviews that took place in these expos that the LDS folks love to have. And she had them transcribed and put them at the beginning of the 5-year anniversary of the Visions of Glory. And if you don't want to read the book, and I say don't support whomever is getting the revenue now, which I assume is John Pontius's family, because that's also then the LDS Church is getting that money.
Yeah.
I'm going to go over a little bit of these discussions that they have at the beginning of the 5-year anniversary edition of the book, because it gives you a general idea of what this book is all about. In this way, you don't really need to read the book. I mean, you can if you want. It's just about what we're going to kind of talk about. But yes, so these interviews, which were only in the 5-year anniversary edition and are not in any of the others, kind of tell you a lot about how Tom feels. Because even though these interviews were transcribed from an expo, it was a very friendly environment. They're talking in front of 500, 600 people, but it's still a very close-knit community who are already on board with what they were selling. So when you see it from the outside, it's a little alarming, to be honest. So this is Tom in their interview that they were basically the talk they were having at this expo. This is how he's prefacing their conversation.
Now remember, brothers and sisters, I am just a human being, just like you. The only reason I saw these things was because I've died 3 times. And so there is nothing in me. I don't have anything up on any other human being. There are 15 prophets, seers, and revelators in Salt Lake City who have all of the keys. This is just my experience. All I want to do is share my experience, and I hope that you might find it somewhat interesting. Ugh, all right. I died 3 times. Yeah. I feel like this is like me and my girlfriends having like a chat on their living room floor.
Yeah, you just like feet swinging in the air.
Yeah, it's like, I died 3 times. Like, oh my God, tell me.
Oh my God, what did you see? That's crazy.
And not like a conference where people are paying, what, $1,000?
I'm sure it was quite a bit of money, yeah.
Hey, this is Will Arnett, host of Smartless. Smartless is a podcast with myself and Sean Hayes and Jason Bateman, where each week one of us reveals a mystery guest to the other two. We dive deep with guests that you love, like Bill Hader, Selena Gomez, Jennifer Aniston, David Beckham, Kristen Stewart, and tons more. So join us for a genuinely improvised and authentic conversation filled with laughter and newfound knowledge to feed the Smartless mind. Listen to Smartless now on the SiriusXM app. Download it today.
Nearly home. Isn't home where we all want to be? Reba here for Realtor.com, the pros' #1 most trusted app. Finding a home is like dating. You're not just looking for a place to live, you're searching for the one. That's where Realtor.com comes in. Like any good matchmaker, they know exactly where to look. With over 500,000 new real listings straight from the pros every month, you could find your perfect match today. Ranch style with a pool, barn dominium with an in-law suite, Realtor.com's got them. Modern craftsman with a big yard and a treehouse out back, Realtor.com will have you saying, yep, that's the one. No more swiping. It's time to start finding. Download the Realtor.com app today, cause you're nearly home. Make it real with Realtor.com.
Pros #1 most trusted app based on August 2024 proprietary survey. Over 500,000 new listings every month based on average new for sale and rental listings. February 2024 through January 2025.
Yeah, so he's prefacing this because what they're going to be talking about is the visions. He's like basically doing like So all the things we put in Visions of Glory, let's talk a little bit more about what was going on. It's like doing an interview on like Conan.
Yeah. About how he died and went to heaven. And you're like, what?
Yeah, it is. That is. So we talked a little bit about the NDE, the near-death experience, and how important it is to platforming some of these people who are big in the wellness, prepper, side cultures of Mormonism. The near-death experience is super important because essentially what it says is that you have gone beyond the veil and you've seen and you've come back and you've brought this. Now you have information that none of us know because you've gone past the veil.
Yeah.
And that is all these. I don't mean to say these people. This is all that a lot of LDS people want, and not a lot of them aren't thinking about this every day, but a lot of them are.
This is so crazy because, like, I don't know, we're kind of looking at it from a scientific perspective, like a little outside looking in, but to really think like, well, he died 3 times and he went to heaven and he came back, and like to just have this as like a matter of fact. If somebody told me that to my face, I'd be like, cool, and then like try to leave immediately because they're fucking crazy.
Well, I also think it's kind of important to remember that even outside of the LDS community, that there are probably millions of people who are thinking about the next life and not here. And that is kind of scary.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Also, it's very difficult and we get high on anxiety.
No, and I'm not justifying it. I'm saying what you're saying I agree with, but also it's very common that there are a lot of cultures that are like kind of, and some could argue that it's beneficial to people to get them to be thinking about the next life because then they'll give you all their money.
Right, because heaven is in the next life, not in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, give us all your money and your attention for this one.
Yeah. I don't think every spiritual person, every spiritual leader is thinking like that, but some definitely are. Again, Tom is saying he's just like you and me a lot in these interviews, which kind of leads me to believe that he does not think he is just like us.
No.
He keeps saying, I'm just a simple, I'm not different from you. I know. Do you want to be like Tom Harrison? I bet you do. Oh, I bet you do. But no, I'm just the same as you. I put my pants on one leg at a time.
Right. I grew up so poor. We only had 2 horses.
Yeah.
Is it like that? A
little. And definitely it comes out of him that he does find himself to be an ascended being. You know what I mean? I get that from him. I don't like him as a person. Ooh. I'm going to just put that out there.
A little up his own ass, if you will.
Yeah, a little, maybe a little bit. So Tom and John speak about many things in these on-stage interviews, and boy, are they tough to get through. Even in the abridged version of the transcriptions and the Visions of Glory, you'd think seeing past the veil would be more interesting. But no, alas, it's not. The bulk of the talks revolve around Tom's 3 deaths and what he saw and went on about, and which is the greater bulk of what Visions of Glory is about. But he gets into some of the like more like fun little stuff that he saw in these interviews. And so one of the times he died, allegedly, was on an operating table. I don't know if this surgery ever happened or not. I assume it did. But in his origin story, one of his deaths was on a surgery table. And in this story, he tried to get back in his body. His soul went out of his body. He was like trying to get back in. He couldn't get in while the surgery was happening. He was dying. And he's like, I'm going to float around the little hospital and see what everybody's up to. And he says he walked through some walls and he could, every part of the room he could listen to. So he knew everything about the cows that the leather chair was made out of. He knew where they lived and what their zodiacs were and like their political affiliate. No, I'm not. They didn't say that part, but he did say he could hear the cows' lives that the chair was made of. He also could talk to the wood that was built the walls and the materials for all of the stuff in the room. He knew where all the trees came from.
He sounds kind of Buddhist a little bit.
You fucking bitch. Don't you ever say that about him. And you know what's really cool is he said that the trees were so happy that they were chopped down and used as chairs because men are awesome. And the trees just love being there.
I don't think that's what the trees said.
Oh, they did. They did, Amber.
What?
They said, yes, thank you.
Cut
Please
me down.
Sit on me. Fart on me, sir. Trees are happy to be here. That's so nice. They loved being just chopped down and covered in shellac. So he also, during this discussion, makes very derogatory claims about the medical staff who were helping keep his body alive.
I went into the office. It was one of the offices of a surgeon. In this facility...
By the way, this is his spirit that's doing this.
Oh, should I read it like this? I went into one office. It was one of the offices of a surgeon in this facility where I was having this procedure and had a cardiac arrest and respiratory arrest. He used his office for very inappropriate things. And right when I went in, the office spoke to me of what took place then. The nurse that was attending me, I knew immediately all about her life, that she had boys at home and had recently been divorced, that she was having a relationship with one of the doctors who ended up being on call and shot my heart with the epiphenarine. It was an amazing experience to know everything about everyone in the room. Kind of sounds like a cunt.
He sounds like a creep.
Yeah.
There's some more that he goes on about her having an affair and like the thing, if what you just read, that very inappropriate things were happening in this office. This is just extremely disturbing to me because I don't know if this is really a surgery he had and he's referencing real human beings who he's talking about, or if he just made these characters up in his mind and is trying to convince people this happened. But if these are real people who worked on him at a hospital, what a gross thing to go talking about them afterwards.
You
like
talking
this.
shit about someone that saved your life?
Yeah, exactly. I really hope there are no humans that are actually connected to these people that he's talking about. It's tough to know whether or not this hospital visit ever even happened in the first place, but it's just crazy to me that he's saying the ether, the celestial being, wants him to know people's private information. That's what he's like, almost invading their minds in his idea of what God is doing
and
for
then
him.
Gossiping about it.
Yes, it's like he is like, yeah, God would give you a bunch of people's private info, like God's gossip girl.
Ugh.
And there would be some reason for Tom to have the right to know their personal information. Like that's what he thinks God wants.
No, this is why God doesn't come down and talk to people, because we're like this.
Yeah.
Because we're mean and crazy and gossiping. And
yeah, very judgmental. And I'm being very judgmental about Tom, but I would like to think I'm being judgmental about him because he has caused a lot of pain and damage. But also I am a judgmental person. I am. We all are. And the fact that I think what makes me mad about somebody like him is that he is so arrogant to claim that he is speaking for God. And when he's going to the spirit realm, he's just learning about people's personal traumas and then talking about them. And of course, as they're having this conversation on the stage, it turns to porn. Ugh. Because they are absolutely obsessed with sex. These communities that the purity culture stuff, they are obsessed with sex. This is so weird to me. So in his spirit, when he was on this operating table and walking around the hospital, this is mental. Like, what the fuck, bro? He's having a view into the cosmos. The foundations of stars and time and existence. And God wants you to know about the sex lives of your doctors. He also says he left the hospital, went into the mind of a missionary who was thinking about porn. And then he goes on to say that his body went to a bar and his spirit form. So he floated into a bar.
Yeah, I went in spirit form to a bar last night. That's what I did. And I went in spirit form and had a glass of wine on my porch.
Did you enter the patrons like he did? Because that's what he did.
He sounds like he has problems. And he's pitching it to me of like, oh, I died. I'm a better person. And I'm like, dude, take your hand out of your pants and then like wake up.
So he says he went into this bar. He wanted to experience it because he doesn't go to bars. He's a good boy. And he proceeded to judge all of the patrons in spirit form.
What?
And wrap it in this layer of feeling so sorry for them. Oh, I felt the sorrow of what they were just all suffering. That's why they drank. And those poor people drinking, they just don't understand what it is to be spiritual. And he then jumped into the bodies of the patrons to experience them being drunk. And he's telling this to an audience. And he's saying, and I felt it, and it was just so sad. It was so sad what they were feeling. So he basically non-consensually jumped into a bunch of people who were minding their own business at a bar.
Yeah, is this like soul rape? What's going on?
It feels a little bit like
Get the fuck out of here, bro. You're scaring the hose.
And then, this is an important thing because it goes back to things we've talked about. He watches the patrons leave the bar and watches the dark spirits following them home, which is something we talked about last episode, that the demon children, the third of the spirit children who followed Lucifer, are everywhere, and they are constantly trying to get you. And so in Tom's story, he went to where all of the Sodom and Gomorrah was and watched the dark spirits surround the people smiling and after work enjoying a cocktail. And he was just like, oh, you poor souls. Oh, the demons are coming after you. And so that's bad. But I guess jumping into the person's body without their consent is totally fine. He's not one of the dark demons. He just saw the dark demons around them.
Oh, I hate this. And it's like I went out, walking around the other night and somebody was like, where's your boyfriend? Where's your husband? And I was like, oh, I'm just chilling. This Ukrainian girl, I'm guessing they have different sort of relationship standards over there. I don't know. But she was like, oh, that's so sad. No husband. And I'm like, bitch,
what the fuck?
This isn't sad at all. I'm having a great day.
Why did she even say that to you?
I don't know. I think it's just different in more Eastern Europe areas of you got to have a boyfriend or a husband.
Well, I think maybe that's also just the thing that some women feel the need to push onto people.
Yeah. Because
they've been told that over and over and over again.
And it's fine.
A lot of times it is people also pushing the idea of we need one, right? Right? They told us we have to have one, right? Because I don't want one, but we're supposed to, right? I do feel like there's a little bit of that. But anyway, sex, porn, sex, booze, sex. This is what Tom saw when he went out of body from the surgery. And it was all just judging people around him and finding everyone being sexually deviant and filled with demons. Cool. But I'm talking about this conversation because towards the end of what felt like a punishment to me reading through it, they began to discuss something called preparing a people for the millennium. And this is a major part of Visions of Glory, that 144,000, which is also a biblical reference, are meant to trek through, in this version of it, through Alaska and through Canada. Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell were certainly in this camp, not necessarily going to the same location, but were awaiting the last days alongside Tom and all of these people. Again, if you'll recall, I talked to you about the body cam footage. Lori Vallow had the Visions of Glory open on her beach chair. Jody Hildebrand was also preparing in this way and was in this community. And remember when we were discussing Spring Thibodeau last week, how she kidnapped her 16-year-old son with her brother because they were going to wait out the end days? They were also most likely traveling to hide for the last days toward waiting for Zion.
Oh, right. You said they were going through Canada. It was cold and stuff.
Yeah, they were actually caught in Alaska. And so we don't know if they were ultimately going to be in Canada, but they were headed towards the general idea of where the Visions of Glory stuff takes place. And that's not coincidence. Spring was entrenched in this community. But, they're all fringe, right? This is just a fringe community. The Latter-day Saints themselves, as a church, fall squarely into the millennialist religious group category.
Religious studies scholar and author Joe Laycock helps us understand the meaning of millennialism.
Yeah, so we have this category in religious studies called millennialism. And millennialism just means any form of kind of coming collective salvation, right? So not just you as an individual, but your people, maybe the whole world, but definitely your people, right? Mm-hmm. And the name millennialism, millennium means 1,000. This comes from the book of Revelation, where Jesus is supposed to come back and there's supposed to be 1,000 years of peace after this apocalyptic a scenario. So technically, all Christian denominations are millennialists, right? Technically, they would all say, yeah, I guess one day Jesus is going to come back because that's what the Bible says. But some Christian denominations don't really care about this. They've kind of moved on to other things, kind of more progressive Christian denominations. And others are like reading a newspaper every day and like checking boxes, right, to see how close we are to the end. There are other types of millennialism too. So most religions have some kind of prophecy or speculation about how the world's going to end. Heaven's Gate was a millennialist group that was about UFOs, right? The UFOs are going to come and blow up the world, but we're going to be saved because we're going to be taken away on the spaceship. And you can even have political millennialism. So Hitler said that the Third Reich would last 1,000 years. He doesn't say that he based that number on the Bible, but it seems pretty clear that that is what influenced him. And even Karl Marx said, well, one day we will realize capitalism is dumb and the workers of the world will unite and then all our problems will be over and we'll be happy. That is a millennialist ideal, right? So with cases where groups like Heaven's Gate or Jonestown or the Branch Davidians, when these groups become violent, sociologists kind of look at what happened. And one of the things that they noticed was, well, they all were anticipating this apocalyptic scenario, this sort of millennialist scenario. They had different versions of what it looked like, but they all said that's going to happen soon. And then something happened to make them kind of lose hope or worry that things weren't going to go out the way that they had told them to be. And so one conclusion by Kathy Wessinger, who's one of my mentors and someone I work with, was just, if you have a millennialist group and they feel like they're losing sight of their millennialist goal, violence is not guaranteed, but the odds of it go up quite a lot, right? So I think that MAGA is a millennialist group, right? And they said, well, Trump's going to get rid of the deep state and he's going to get rid of the satanic pizza basement dwellers and all this stuff. It's going to be called the storm. And then when that didn't happen in 2020, they got violence.
Yeah.
Right? And we saw January 6th. So it's really the same pattern that we see with these other groups.
So Joe just explained a little bit about millennialism to us. Here's a brief description.
Millennialism, the belief expressed in the book of Revelation to John, the last book of the New Testament, that Christ will establish a 1,000-year reign of the saints on earth, the millennium, before the last judgment. More broadly defined, it is a cross-cultural concept grounded in the expectation of a time and supernatural peace and abundance on earth. So they believe, like, we're chilling in this godless society right now. God's going to come down and say, booyah, I'm here. And then people are going to have a great time or a bad time?
Bad time, then a good time.
Okay, so bad time, then a good time. A bad time for 1,000 years?
Yeah, well, it depends. Yeah, that's like the general idea. The general idea is that the 1,000 years will be a time of peace. But to get to that, a bunch of horrible stuff has to happen. However, there are a million variations of this. You know, that is a Christian, some sects believe the judgment. That's in the Bible and all that. But a lot of people translate that differently. It's not even just exclusive to Christianity, but it is mostly about Christianity. And LDS fits in there. There are many new religious movements who fall into a version of millennialism or neo-millennialism or like post-millennialism. There's all kinds of stuff. Some are more prominent than others, and some are more focused on it than others.
Yeah.
But the end days are baked so heavily into LDS, it's in their name.
The Latter-day Saints.
Latter-day Saints, yes.
Because we had we had like end days in our kind of thing. Mostly Southern Baptist is like, you women got to shut up and put out. And that's kind of it. The 1 Corinthians, that's all we ever heard. The one.
Do you remember in church, like how often you were taught, it was talked about, like the end times?
I don't even, all I remember is you women got to shut up and put out. I don't even know other parts of the Bible. And I think that's purposely kept from Christians to be a little bit ding dong about it. Because I'm sure if you really read it, you'd be like, wait a minute, this is weird.
Hey, this is Will Arnett, host of Smartless. Smartless is a podcast with myself and Sean Hayes and Jason Bateman, where each week one of us reveals a mystery guest to the other two. We dive deep with guests that you love, like Bill Hader, Selena Gomez, Jennifer Aniston, David Beckham, Kristen Stewart, and tons more. So join us for a genuinely improvised and authentic conversation filled with laughter and newfound knowledge to feed the Smartless mind. Listen to Smartless now on the SiriusXM app. Download it today.
Nearly home. Isn't home where we all want to be? Reba here for Realtor.com, the pros' #1 most trusted app. Finding a home is like dating. You're not just looking for a place to live, you're searching for the one. That's where Realtor.com comes in. Like any good matchmaker, they know exactly where to look. With over 500,000 new real listings straight from the pros every month, you could find your perfect match today. Ranch style with a pool, barn dominium with an in-law suite? Realtor.com's got them. Modern craftsman with a big yard and a treehouse out back? Realtor.com will have you saying, yep, that's the one. No more swiping. It's time to start finding. Download the Realtor.com app today, because you're nearly home. Make it real with Realtor.com.
Pros #1 most trusted app based on August 2024 proprietary survey. Over 500,000 new listings every month based on average new for sale and rental listings. February 2024 through January 2025.
Because I know you've talked about that before, that you weren't really encouraged to read the Bible. You were encouraged to listen to the church leaders.
That's it. Yeah. Just listen to this guy.
But you didn't grow up with like a generalized fear of the judgment.
I don't think so. I don't remember. I remember like looking at clothes on the ground and being like, oh, it started, like as a joke. But I didn't even know what a rapture was, you know?
Interesting.
A preacher would be like, end of days, like they would say it, but it never really hit home with me. Maybe it's just a me thing. It went over my head.
I mean, or just that different sex and legs of it just don't focus on it a lot. I bet you even from preacher to preacher, it really varies.
Yeah, I think it depends.
Some would be very fire and brimstone.
Yeah.
Maybe you were just around one that just wanted to talk more about women's like butts.
I think so. Yeah. They would have revivals once a year, and that was big. End of days, God's coming back. But I wasn't paying attention.
Well, I'm glad that it didn't get into your like psyche, because some people talk about when they're kids and that happens, their lives are like destroyed by the fear of it. Like
right.
The constant fucking fear of that. It is today the day, which would be scary. I mean, I had fear of the world ending when my anxiety would be like really kicked up before I was really able to process it. But it wasn't, I guess maybe it was like residual religious fear, because I didn't grow up in the church, but like the idea that there were a bunch of adults thinking that this was normal, I guess probably still affected me.
You're like, oh my God, who's driving the bus, you know?
Yeah, which is the really fun part about becoming an adult, is realizing nobody is.
Nobody's driving the bus, yeah.
No one's driving. We're also pretending somebody is. So the idea that, you know, if you think about it from, the years of peace, it's going to be so wonderful. That might sound nice on the offshoot, but most versions of it, including LDS, are usually accompanied by extreme levels of violence. You know, all of the dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. That's Ghostbusters. But fire raining from the sky, pests. You know, the 7 seals of the apocalypse.
The frogs raining down. Yes.
Yeah. So, and that's usually for like, you know, the whores and the sluts and stuff we're usually the ones who are going to pay the price. It's kind of like a weird fantasy about getting all your enemies.
It is weird, because we're just vibing, living a great life. And there's some people out there that literally think like, you whores are going to burn. You whores are going to burn. And I'm like, I don't even think about you, bro. Like, please get it together.
It's really a bummer. I don't like it. But yeah, again, many millions of people walk the earth today not caring about here because they're waiting for the next one. Sometimes they want to trigger it faster.
Oh, right. Yeah, there's a few things happening for that.
Yep. So many members of the saints aren't spending all day planning their trek to Zion, and mostly keep to the end times. They just put it somewhere in the back of their mind, right? Like everyday members might just go, well, if something happens, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to. And so it's the one true church and I should be fine. I'm not going to like stress about it. But that's not true for thousands of members. Some become utterly fixated on it. And guys like Tom, parading around as not only a prophet, but a mental health practitioner, guys like him are causing real extreme harm. So Spring Thibodeau, again, kidnapped the kid, taken to the wilderness. Mm-hmm. She was a big follower of Julie Rowe. Not only a follower, she knew her and promoted her work. Who is Julie Rowe again? We've mentioned her a little. She's an author and was being published under Chad Daybell's publishing company, Spring Creek Publishing. Julie Rowe's books about near-death experiences and prophecies actually predated Chad's books about the subject. He actually kind of saw the popularity in her books and became very much like, oh, me too.
Oh, right. So she was kind of one of the OG, I died, trust me.
Well, she definitely was one that caught wind in that world. She definitely didn't start that trend, but in the early 2000s, she was starting to have these feelings and these thoughts. And we're going to get into Julie Rowe. So Chad ended up connecting with her, started publishing her books. They did really, really well. And Chad was like, I got to get in on these prophecy things. And he was like, I also had prophecies. He was already writing books at this time when he had the publishing. It was like why he had the publishing company, because he wanted to make his books go out. But a lot of the stuff he was writing at the time, like he had an autobiography about the fact that he was a grave digger, which is haunting because he ended up burying his mistress's children.
Whoa.
But he had a job as a grave digger as a young man, which, God, it's dark.
That's kind of a cool job. I guess you just dig the grave and cut the grass and get out of there.
I think being a grave digger is cool, honestly, but being a grave digger and being Chad Daybell,
right,
not cool. Very scary. So a lot of his books were along the lines of sort of this white nationalist prairie biblical fanfic stuff, and they are very, very bad. Just objectively not good. He's not a good writer. When your religion is about preparing for the end, which Dr. John DeLynn points out about after chapter 3 of the Book of Mormon, Book of Mormon is basically a prepper guidebook. It is kind of giving you the guidelines of how to survive the end. So the religion is a lot of it is about getting ready. When Spring and her brother Brooke, who were active believing members, were trying to convince Spring's children to come on this journey to wait out the end times, because her other child was an adult young woman who also went with them, the brother, Brooke, used scriptures from Book of Mormon to convince the adult young daughter to come with them. So he was not using some weird... He was quoting the Book of Mormon to do this, to be like, this is, see here, here, and here, here, and this is why it's the end.
Wow. And how many cases just like this do we not even know about because they haven't hit the news?
Yeah, for sure. And even if it's not exactly this scenario, there's plenty of evidence we can point to of people ruining their families' lives and draining their bank accounts and things. We'll talk about that. So I bring this up because as we talk about Julie Rowe, I think the church would want you to believe they have nothing to do with this because they excommunicated Julie Rowe eventually. But all these people around her were not. In fact, some of them are highly regarded in the church. So all the people who, they haven't publicly excommunicated Chad Daybell yet.
Oh.
All of these guys, mostly guys, but it's not, they still have thrown some guys under the bus too, but Julie Rowe kind of became the scapegoat for this culture, being like, oh, it was just her. She was crazy, but everything else, don't look too closely at it. We excommunicated that crazy bad one. But the church wants you to believe they are not the big bads. They're not the bads. It's not from us. They want you to believe like, oh, Brian David Mitchell, who kidnapped Elizabeth Smart and was preparing for the end days and practicing polygamy. He was just a kook. He wasn't like, I wasn't using all of our own Book of Mormon to justify his actions. No. But Brian David Mitchell, who was practicing and believing in mainstream LDS philosophers like Avram Gileadi, who's respected to this day in the church and whose books are available in Deseret Books and BYU, he was the guy who kidnapped Elizabeth Smart because I don't know if you know, but they're all Mormons. Like that whole community. Like Elizabeth Smart was a Mormon. Yeah. Her kidnapper was a Mormon.
This is like ants. Like you look at an ant and you're like, oh, there goes an ant. You're like, oh, that's just one ant. You're like, oh, there's another one. Oh, and then you look around and you're like, holy shit, my legs are covered in ants.
Yeah, totally. This is not isolated. And so, yeah, do I think that someone struggling mentally also is going to result in this? Yeah, I do think Brian David Mitchell had terrible mental health, but the idea of prophecies and visions and end days being normalized, if you're mentally ill, what do you think that's going to do?
Yeah, not help. And the people that you go to for help are pretty much yes-anding this.
Yes.
So you're like, oh, I guess they're right.
Yes.
And also this whole shit, it's ego-based because you can't believe that the world will continue after you and that no one will remember you 200 years from now because that's how it goes. Do we know anybody 200 years ago? No. We're going to die and we're going to rot in the ground. I personally believe in an afterlife, but...
Yeah, and that is a huge part of the LDS culture. Mainstream, no, I don't think anybody would argue that lineage is very, very important to LDS culture, and they keep really stringent family line trees. They document everything. That's, again, why a lot of them write books, because they're encouraged to journal everything about their lives. While I think there's some really cool benefits to that, it's also because they're told their every waking moment is so important that they must document it, which is how guys like Chad Daybell end up being like, wow, I'm awesome. Without any evidence to suggest it. Because they are told they are literally the chosen ones. And all of their thoughts are amazing. It's also kind of the way that Tom speaks. Tom Harrison kind of talks like that too, where he can go inside of everybody's bodies and talk about how bad they are.
This is how you get people to do something for you as you gas them up a little bit. It's like, you're the chosen one. God, you're so good at doing laundry. Can you do this load of laundry? You're the chosen one. You're so good. Yeah. You carry this out and vote for this way because you are the chosen one.
It's pretty true. So we've talked about how Tom and John Pontius and Julie Rowe, Spring Thibodeau, they're all really into these final days. And you got to have a way to all connect and talk about these shared interests, you know? And what better way than a forum, an online forum? There is a website called Another Voice of Warning, or a vow, where all of these people had sort of collected and met and communicated with one another.
So this is like 4chan?
Kinda. So based on what we can know about a vow, because it is extremely mysterious, but we've been fortunate enough that one of the creators of a vow's adult daughter has come out and talked about some of it because it's very secretive. But it essentially, a vow is a forum website that you have to become a member on to really see any of it. But it's a store, it's a forum, it's a resource for preparing for the end of the world.
Oh,
so
one-stop shop.
Yes, and you would want to maybe call it like an extreme prepper community, but it is almost exclusively LDS people or ex-LDS. This is directly to that community. You're not really going to find a vow, and you're not really going to participate in a vow unless you have something to do with the LDS church.
And they know because you're given a number.
That, and also it's just, you only meet people through the LDS community to end up on a vow. You could probably just sign up, but people generally aren't, who aren't already in this culture.
Yeah.
And it's very fumbum. Not run by the church, but one of those things. It's only LDS people. So isn't it kind of the church too? And they haven't directly disavowed it. They should be disavowing a vow, but they're not, because, well, we'll get into why, I think. So this website, a vow, Another Voice of Warning, has been around for several decades. I don't know the exact day it started, but at least since 2005 has been around. And it was started by a man named Roger K. Young. I've attached some pictures of him here if you just want to see.
Oh, this guy looks like he's blowing a whistle.
Yeah.
He's holding fish up.
Yeah. It's really fascinating to see, because Roger K. Young, who created Another Voice of Warning, LDS guy, really into the preparation of the people kind of thing, really into the end days, and is kind of a fearmonger in a lot of ways. But also, you see these glimpses into his life, and he's just out fishing.
He's just a good old boy.
Just making life-ruining panics and then gone fishing. He just, in a lot of ways, just looks like a boomer.
Yeah, he looks like a guy that like he'd be grilling at a barbecue.
He's wearing one of his aggressive patriot shirts, or you're just like talking about the country aggressively, just like being mad for no reason. But also like just fishing, like having a good time, but can't fully have a good time. Has to like make sure he's like mad about stuff, but not really.
Yeah. Own the libs by ruining your life. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So a vow is somewhere, it is said that there are somewhere between 15 and 20,000 members.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. That's the number of people who are fully engrossed in prepper culture, not doing just food storage, because as we've talked with some of our guests and as we've heard from other people, a lot of LDS people do food storage, and there are Mormon-based food storage stores you can buy from. And prepper culture necessarily, like preparing for a disaster is not crazy. It's actually pretty smart to do, to have an emergency go bag and all that stuff. And that's really pushed onto LDS people. However, if you're on a vow, you are most of those people they have like a, what's it called? A bunker, or like or like a arsenal of weapons. Like there are people who are expecting it to happen.
I mean, I could see the bunker thing, because don't like Zuckerberg and them have bunkers? So it's almost like, fuck you, why can't I have a bunker? But they're not doing it for a class status. They're doing it for like a far right extremism.
Yes. And again, I don't even think it's wrong to have a bunker. But if that is your thought every day when you wake up and go to bed, is how I'm preparing to like kill the people who are going to come take my family's belongings, I don't think that's healthy or a good place to be. And I don't know that it's necessarily a place you want your church to be either.
And also because, life-threatening things happen. Like Katrina can happen any moment. I was in there, and to have a gun around was a good idea. But when you're with people in those moments and they start flipping out, they're going to make the bad situation worse.
Yeah.
As opposed to just remaining calm.
Especially because I think a portion of those people are excited for it. They want to shoot people. They want to have to defend their homeland. They don't want to be doing their day-to-day. I mean, I wouldn't want to be living a day-to-day LDS life. I got to say, it's not for me. Some people seem to enjoy it. That's fine. But I'd be so bored out of my fucking skull.
Yeah, that's why they're pushing the end of days, because they're just bored.
I bet it is boring. I mean, I'm not trying to say everybody's boring, but come on, guys. It seems pretty boring. So, as I mentioned, Roger Young started this website. He's an older guy, and another guy kind of came onto the scene, and this is the guy whose adult daughter has spoken out. This guy's name is Christopher Perrett, and he is a kind of flim-flam man. He's an LDS guy who actually wasn't born into it. He converted into his young adult years before he had his family. And so Christopher Perrett's adult daughter has been the one coming out and speaking about the things that have happened. So we know a little bit more about this world that he was into. But Christopher Perrett basically joined Roger K. Young to boost a vow. He kind of, I think, helped make it a little bit bigger. But he's still been working with Roger Young for years and years, so it's not like he's new to it. So Christopher Perrett could be his own episode. He's what I believe you could call a piece of work. Perrett didn't start a vow, but again, developed it into a bigger thing.
Is it kind of like Elon Musk and Twitter? He didn't start the website, but he made it what it is.
Yeah. And also, like, you could say that about Brigham Young making the church. Joseph Smith started it, Brigham Young, L. Ron Hubbard started Scientology. There's just these, you need people to kind of like boost you up a little bit. So Christopher Perrett is just, there's so much I could say about him. We're not going to have a full episode about him, but he kind of embodies the things that can go wrong that aren't necessarily just directly, unfortunately, like murder and stuff like that. So one of the things that Perrett is really obsessed with, again, just like some of the other people we've talked about, is the 144,000. And they have something that they refer to as a call out inside of the world of a vow, inside of the world of Julie Rowe, Tom Harrison, all of these people. And that's the idea is that if you are one of the special 144,000 who's been righteous and been special and did all the right things, you're going to get called out and you're going to end up in one of these tent cities where you're going to live out safely all of the chaos and reign of terror and stuff. And then you guys get to stay and it's going to be sick as hell. Everything's going to be awesome afterwards. So if you get called out to the tent cities, that means you're one of the good guys.
Cool.
So a vow is very, very focused in on that idea.
And it's got to be for 1,000 years, right?
I don't remember how I don't think it for them it has something to do with 1,000 years. I think maybe it does. I don't remember. But the 1,000 years is the good part. The bad times are not that time period. It's like a human. I don't know if it's like a year.
Right.
I have no idea.
But you just got to get enough oats and granola to last the bad time.
Yeah.
And then shoot anybody that comes around.
Yes.
But then if you're going to the tent cities and then I'm still here and I'm not a tent person, does that mean I'm a demon?
Yeah. Well, you're one of the people who are going to like try to get them.
This is such brainwashing because, like, what if I'm like, hey, man, you got any water? I got some water. Let's trade. And they just shoot me in the head.
I mean, that's a possibility, but also part of the prepper sort of LARP is so Christopher Perrett's the adult daughter who's spoken out. She talks about how his entire plan also involves bartering. So his form of prepperism is like he has like a store of cigarettes and liquor because if he needs to barter with some of the non-chosen people for like food and stuff, like basically going, well, all the addicts who are eventually going to be swept away, we can give them alcohol for like their meat and stuff like that. So he's like got a whole plot going on.
I mean, I would be going there. The cigarettes and alcohol store. Do you get any weed, bro?
You have to have something to offer.
Okay.
Ass. They won't take ass.
No, of course not. The seltzer water.
The Celsius?
Yeah, that I'm drinking right now. The Celsius. Can I exchange it for a cigarette?
Energy drinks. I don't know. I don't actually know if they can drink those or not. It's not a hot drink, so they might be able to. But yeah, so this is the weird sort of double, what is the paradox of these guys. So we have this fantastical idea of this end times that's going to be like an action movie and you're going to be like called by God to these tent cities. And then you have the image of Roger K. Young and Christopher Perrett. And then if you look, I attached here too, right below these pictures of Roger K. Young, underneath it, it's one of his books, like a promo for his book. So
the cleansing begins.
Yeah. So Roger Young is an author as well. They're all authors. And he has long been a super fan of the Ed Days and prepperism, of course. His website has been up for years, and he is still at it. Like this little clip of this ad for his third book in the series, Zion's Refuge, is from 2023. He's still making stuff, and he is, I mean, if you look at the cover of this promo, it's like, well, I think first off, it's AI, but it's just a city that's destroyed, and it's kind of like schizo posting a little. I don't mean to be insulting, but it's like to schizophrenic people, I'm insulting him. I don't want to insult schizophrenic people. Yeah. But it's just like kind of just being like, it's very fearful. It's very like mystic and it's terrifying. It's like, it looks like something that you should be scared of.
And all the scary people in the cities, they're dead now.
Yeah.
And you get it over. And it's like, well, you can just also go to New York and like go to a deli and get a bagel. It's pretty chill. It's actually a really nice town. Take the subway. It doesn't like, if you involve yourself in the real world, it's really nice. These are like the kids that get bullied that deserved it. That are just like, they hate everybody at school. And it's like, well, yeah, bro, you're like a prick to be around.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
and
what this is.
And then they fantasize about everybody dying. And
yeah.
Yeah. A little bit, probably. So yeah, there's Roger Young's photos. Here is also a photo of Christopher Perrett, the younger guy who kind of helped create a vow on a bigger scale. And they have really extreme ideas. You, as a layman, you can just go to the Avow site right now. You can't go past a certain wall, but you can go to the website and kind of see what they're selling. It's frightening to me. And it's just this like middle-aged guy. I would say maybe Christopher Perrett is elder Gen Xer, maybe a young boomer.
They look normal. That's what's scary, is because they look like they would be in line at the grocery store,
yeah,
and not have these insane thoughts.
Yeah. And if you want to hear about him, his daughter was a guest on Mormon Stories. You can hear all about him, but he is kind of not surprising a little bit. Like, he is a veteran. He probably has a lot of trauma. She believes he probably has OCD, and he's very, very fearful. And this is a way to feel like you're a big man in control of things. He's very, I'm going to say arrogant. He's a know-it-all, and he wants people to think he's important and has the answers and like can save everybody.
I'm on the Avow website. They really want you to buy silver.
They do. He does make money off of this for sure. Not as much as he'd like you to believe. So in a lot of ways, Christopher Perrett was perfect for the LDS church. He was ready for the grandiosity. He was ready for this sort of fearfulness nature of the end days. And so as I'm talking about Avow and I'm talking about all of these end day prophecy visions and stuff, it's hard to not talk about the Daybell Vallow murders. And they're very, very important, and the tragedy is almost inconceivable. But my intention is to not focus on them utterly because for one, they've been covered so extensively. And two, I think if you focus all of it on these horrific murders, you lose sight of the widespreadness of the discord that's going on. While, yes, these murders are horrific, Avow and this idea of the end days is causing so much more harm and danger than just this like little microcosm or this little like sleeper cell of murders.
And it's also getting out of this church a little bit. Like, I was scrolling through the internet and then this guy's like, yeah, I put in my glasses and I can see demons. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool, rock and roll. And then I go, and of course it's all religious and it's Mormon based. So he's just going around and like showing you the demons.
Where did you see that?
This is on TikTok. I should have saved it, but it's real because it was his actual page.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that doesn't sound super out of... I mean, it's not far from what we're talking about.
Yeah,
it's
and
really
they really
not.
believe it. Like, demons possess things, and they're around, and look at this bar with all those souls. And this is going to lead to puritanism for everybody. Because we can still believe what we want and wear short skirts and be a little slut about town, but they give them more power and more reach. Good luck for us to do that a few years from now. It's going to look like fucking... like a Christian Taliban takeover.
Well, okay.
Sorry.
But then that's us fear-mongering.
That's us fear-mongering. You're right. Sorry.
But, again, kernels of truth are there, and we have to be careful and be aware of things like this.
Sorry, guys. I didn't want to stress you out. It's okay.
The end times!
Yeah, you're right. I'm doing the same damn thing.
No, but I understand because there are genuine concerns and real fears that we need to face. So... inside of people who are practicing Avow stuff and prepper stuff, there is a lot of strife happening. There's fear, and most likely in some of these homes, abuse is going on because these are extreme beliefs. Even if they are not that far from mainstream, the mainstream's just kind of extreme.
Yeah, maybe you didn't die 3 times and see heaven. Maybe your dad beat you.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Or like yelled at you.
Yeah. If they're living inside of this, they're probably struggling mentally, some of them. And so at the end of the day, we can't ignore the huge impact Avow had in Chad and Lori's lives, but especially Chad. He was very active in this world. And in fact, Christopher Perrett was pretty much the only person who was publicly defending Chad and Lori for the new, on the news.
Whoa.
When the kids were still missing, he made posts that circulated the news about how he had spoken with them and that he understood what happened and that the kids were fine and all would be revealed. He also called the coverage of the story lamestream news.
God, all will be revealed. Are we Batman today?
He talks like Batman. He really talks like Batman. He's using coded language like lamestream news so you know his political beliefs, but he basically chastised people for being worried about these missing children, which is fucking horrible and kind of cringy. He was so defensive of the Avow member Chad Daybell that police and media were actually kind of considering that the kids might be kept in Perrett's basement. So they were kind of staked outside of his house. This is his house, by the way. I have a photo of it. You can see it's quite big. It's like a McMansion.
It's nice.
I feel the need to be petty here. And maybe it's also important to all of us to remember that many people who claim to be big and bad are just practicing a facade. Because while having this house, Christopher Perrett is living inside of, running Avow, everybody's taking him seriously and giving him all this clout in his local ward. it made it seem like he was really knew what he was talking about. Oh my gosh, he's like, if you have money, you must be so smart. Well, according to his daughter who's spoken out, this house was bought by his mommy because he was keeping his 6 children in such a dirty, tiny apartment. She stepped in and gave him a McMansion for the sake of her grandchildren.
Oh my God. Is this why you said he makes money, but not as much as he'd like you to believe? And like buy silver?
Yep.
It's all just for smoke and mirrors.
It is smoke and mirrors. This big, tough military man who puffed his chest out and told people what to do was utterly funded by his mommy and his wife, who had to fund his ever-rotating business ventures by being a school teacher and raising his children. So as he was getting a vow going, he's also this sort of flim-flam man, always trying to do all these different businesses like a lot of these LDS guys. And he wasn't bringing money in, he was taking money away from the house. And so his wife had to raise all of their children and also go to school to teach, to make money to support them. That's why they were living in a tiny apartment, because they were living off a teacher's salary. So then...
What?
Yeah. So, girl,
this is
if you want to go down this route, go watch his daughter's interview. And he also trashes his mother who gave him that house because she was not a Mormon.
What?
So he also shit-talked her after that, too. Doesn't tell anybody his mom bought them the house.
I know a few couples in a very conservative Southern Baptist thing. And again, Southern Baptist, different Mormonism. But the wife goes out and makes all the money. And then the husband he just uses her money to go hunt and fish and but he has his chest blown out because the church says, oh, the husband's the leader of the household. So she has to go out and make, this is drives me crazy. You go out and you make so much money as like a pharmaceutical representative, and then you come home and give it all to your husband, and he says, I'm the big man of the house. This is cosplay. Get the fuck out of my house.
It's not, I don't think it's uncommon. I think you're right. Like, I think that happens all the time. We even see this a little bit with Chad and the woman that he killed, his wife, his first wife, Tammy. She was a teacher also and was helping his dreams by starting this publishing company for him. So he was also relying upon his wife to like hold him up, and then he fucking murders her.
Oh my God.
It's disgusting.
Oh my God. Ladies, tell him to get out of your house. If you're in one of those patriarchal like things, you make the money.
Yeah. We are already at the end of the episode. We have so much more to cover. I'm keeping it as tight as I can. We're going to be going a little bit further into a vow and how they're connected to some stuff that's happening right now. This prepper world, it's not just these big news stories. It's not just this idea of they're all LARPing online. There are real world consequences, and people have not shied from this prepper life in the LDS church after the Valo Daybell crimes. We haven't even gotten into Firm Expo or Preparing a People or Liberty 89. We'll touch on them, but we're gonna be going in there because our friend Ken Krogh, who we've talked about, is actually still deeply enmeshed in this prepper world, this end days thing, and is in the middle of a conflict right now that I have a source on that is on the surface a small town issue, but has huge consequences. And so we're going to talk about what prepperism is going on right now that hasn't made the news yet.
I'm scared.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's going to be something.
Because again, they look totally normal. A lot of these people, you could be friends with them.
Yeah.
And in their head, it's just like, she's going to burn. She's going to burn. The whore's going to burn.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. So let's end here just because that was a lot. And we're going to talk a little bit more about prepper world and how it interferes with government, with the laws, all kinds of stuff.
So this is more than just the slop bucket that guy sells?
It's more than the slop bucket, unfortunately. But it is also the slop bucket. Don't forget about that slop. At least slop bucket provides something.
That's right.
You know?
I kind of want to get one and then do like a mukbang.
You should, honestly. That'd be hilarious.
Coming up next week, the pursuit of the end of the world is a passion thousands of saints share. And hey, we all need hobbies. You just hope your hobby wouldn't result in so much strife and suffering.
Hey, this is Jeff Lewis from Radio Andy. Live and uncensored, catch me talking with my friends about my latest obsessions, relationship issues, and bodily ailments. With that kind of drama that seems to follow me, you never know what's going to happen.
You can listen to Jeff Lewis live at home or anywhere you are. Download the SiriusXM app for over 425 channels of ad-free music, sports, entertainment, and more. Subscribe now and get 3 months free. Offer details apply.
Sun's out, snack's out, and My Mochi ice cream is your go-to summer treat. My Mochi's bite-sized beauties are only around 70 calories each. They're packed with cool, creamy ice cream and wrapped with soft, chewy dough. Totally satisfying, perfectly portioned, and ready to cool you down with every delicious bite. My Mochi ice cream fits your summer vibe. Treat yourself smart with a joyfully chill sensation of My Mochi. Look for the purple box of My Mochi at Walmart or visit mymochi.com to find a store near you.